I'm sitting here with Greg Zeschuk, from the co-founder of Bioware, and we're about to have a little conversation about all things Bioware, and more specifically the Old Republic. But let's start out with this spring, and you've added a lot of content to your two major RPG franchises. What's the philosophy behind that, and how do you look to expand games in the future? Is this something we can come to expect from Bioware?
It really is. I mean, we think DLC and like downloadable content is a huge part of the game experience. Like we create these entire worlds to explore, and we think it's actually really great for players to give them more to do afterwards. I mean, we want them to finish it, but we also want to add things that extend the world, take them on new stories. Sometimes it's experimental. We did the vehicle, the Hammerhead, which was a different style of vehicle than we'd done previously. We didn't put it in the main game, but we put it in DLC to try it out. So for us, we think it's very, very valuable to actually continue to give players more stuff to play.
Is it a good way of trying things out that you could bring on full scale for another game, perhaps in the future?
It really is. I mean, it's nice to actually experiment, and if you get a really positive response to something unique and different that you add to, like a DLC, then actually it is something we would actually consider adding in a future release. It's a way. It's a safe playground. And I think the other thing too is sometimes we like to try out unique ideas. Our designers are very creative. They like to think of exciting things. Sometimes those don't get into the game, but we say, well, let's put them in DLC, test it, and see what happens next.
Is it also nice to split up teams, to have smaller teams to work on different things, just to keep the atmosphere in the company?
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. It's like when you have a smaller team, it's got a different feel to it. It's very intimate feel. Everyone knows each other well, and they can be very, very productive. And I think what we find is we have these small teams that, like the Dragon Age Origins Awakening expansion pack was not a big team. It was a pretty small team, but they did great work. They did it very fast, and they're very excited because everyone on the team felt they could have a big impact. That's the big thing with DLC teams is everyone feels that they're in a position to make a difference, and I think that's something that's very important for game development. People want to have a sense of control and contribution, and makes developers very excited.
Moving on from the smaller teams to a huge team, I presume, Star Wars: The Old Republic. What's the experience been like from your point of view to make the first MMO for Bioware?
So the first MMO that we're building, Star Wars: The Old Republic, has been a pretty amazing experience in the sense that, we've learned a lot. One thing we really strive to do at Bioware is always improve, always learn. We used to make big games. We make big games at Bioware, but an MMO dwarfs everything else we build. It's a very long development cycle, very big production, and a lot of content. I think we appreciated how much content there was. We thought we understood it, and then we started building it, and you realize it's just absolutely massive. It's a very, very big game. And largely what we want to do is really give the players something that they can play for years, and we want them to make a game that's compelling, engaging, and they can enjoy and play literally for years.
And you also have to plan to the production never ends, really. I mean, it's just going to be ongoing.
Yeah, so that's actually one big difference in the sense that because in an MMO or an online game, it's very much like a service, and players sign up to be part of the service, and there's an obligation on our part to continue to provide stuff. And so, we've planned out not only the main game so far, but we actually also have the first about maybe a year and a half after we got a lot of ideas about what we would provide then as well. And I think a lot of it depends on what the players enjoy. Again, very much like the DLC experience I was talking about earlier, where once players are in the game, you see what they're really doing a lot of, and you see what's really successful, and you might change your plans in order to deliver more of that. So, for example, we announced the PvP war zones. If players love the PvP war zones and doing that a ton of the time, then we probably would look at our production plan and kind of say, hey, let's do a little more war zones. Players are really enjoying it. It's keeping them hooked to the game. Let's try that.
So, what's the philosophy behind that? Is it going to be like continuous updates with patches, or do you think you're going to bring on expansions further on, or?
We'll see. We haven't really determined or really talked about the plan post-launch, but at the very least, the thing you want to do is always be some sort of updates to the player on a reasonable timeline. We haven't talked about that and haven't really nailed down how frequent, but we'll want to definitely have things that kind of keep refreshing the game and keep it going after release.
Something that I feel about Bioware games is that you get the sense of a greater world when you play them, and in this game you are creating a greater world, so to speak. So, but it must sort of be a nice. I mean, you have all the experience that you want to see from a company making an MMO without having made one. How do you feel that the Bioware difference really affects like a genre like the MMO genre?
I think the MMO genre is interesting, and I think our impact on it as Bioware is very positive, because the MMO genre has a certain number of standards and expectations that come with it. You expect things to work a certain way in a traditional MMO. It's not to say Star Wars is totally traditional; it's a little bit different MMO. But what we do is we want to make sure we get all the basics correct, like all the great exploration you have in a MMO, great combat, things like the loot, the auction systems, all that stuff is really just standard now. It's expected. What we can do as Bioware is add a layer to it, add another pillar, add the sense of story, the sense of choice, give players, there are already lots of reasons to play an MMO, to give them one more reason, a powerful reason, which is the story, pulling them through the game. And I think that's actually the thing that it really is different when people play it. I mean, the people playing it here, we have our demo kind of playable in the LucasArts booth, and people are just absolutely loving it. And they're kind of blown away by the dual experience of the very traditional multiplayer MMO elements combined with the ability to have story.
It's such a hard game to get a hands-on look at. I played it back at GDC for half an hour or something, and it's like MMOs you need to play for hours and hours to get any sort of like feeling for them. But I assume you're looking to beta test at some point.
Yeah, no, we'll be doing that. We'll be doing beta testing and giving a certain type of opportunity for people in the public to play. We've largely been testing internally, so we actually have been testing it quite a bit, even for the last 6-7 months, even a year. When I go home, I can actually play it at night and join up with other people and play through the planets and do stuff. So the thing for us is to make sure that when we're doing betas, it's the right time, we have the right content. And as you mentioned earlier, it's actually really hard to play it like this at E3 at a trade show for you guys who don't get a chance to play it. I was really worried. I said, well, because of these systems set up, so how long do you let people play? I mean, people are not going to want to stop. And they say, well, no, we're going to have to make them stop at 30 to 45 minutes. I go, wow, it's going to be tough, because people, and they saw that yesterday, people didn't want to stop. They're like, no, I'm doing this, and I'm having fun. And it's a very, very big experience, but also very deep. It's very engaging.
So you mentioned how big it was. Could you talk a little bit about the writing team? How big is that, and how many people have actually worked on the story?
Yeah, I mean, there's it's hard to know the exact number. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's definitely larger than the usual Bioware writing team. And the Bioware writing team is usually pretty big. It's a few people. It's a couple times bigger than that at least, I think. And it's exciting too, because there's some of the writers on the team are some of the some people who've worked at Bioware for a very long time, and some of the folks that have been lead writing positions on other projects. And actually, that brings a lot of consistency and a lot of learning to how the writing works. Because that's one of the things we've always found, is that writing is one of the more challenging things for people to get right in terms of development, and that by having some of the Bioware veterans on there and training people, we've been able to actually get a writing that's really consistent with the Bioware style. Very high quality, but also has to be nice and brief and succinct and get the point across quickly.
So obviously, this is like a return to the Knights of the Old Republic sort of type of game. What kind of freedom does that allow you in terms, because working on a license like that usually means a lot of limitations, but then again you worked up a relationship with LucasArts since a long time. Can you describe that?
Yeah, no, it's one of the things that's really exciting is returning to the Old Republic, and something we worked with Lucas on the original Knights of the Old Republic, and that was a very active choice. We wanted to go into a space where there are lots of Jedi, there's lots of flexibility, the freedom to create interesting scenarios, planets. It's really a tremendous honor to actually have an influence on the Star Wars universe. I mean, it's been an incredible thing for us. And what's also exciting is because the old Star Wars: The Old Republic happens after Knights of the Old Republic, we can bring back a few interesting things. I mean, one of the planets we've announced was Terrace, the very first sort of planet you land on in the Old Republic that gets bombarded and somewhat destroyed. You go back there and see the results of that. So it's actually kind of cool to be able to play in the space again that we helped be part of, and then it's part of the permanent Star Wars lore. It's just a great honor.
It's you can tell a story without actually writing anything. You can just show it, like the planet.
Yeah, that's actually true, because I mean, you can kind of say, certainly for people who've played the original Knights of the Old Republic, the environment will tell a story. They'll be able to feel something from just being there, seeing the devastation that was the result. It was hundreds of years before the game, but so it's kind of overgrown, but it's pretty cool. And in closing, that's the kind of great thing about working in Star Wars. It's very iconic, everyone knows. As soon as someone opens a blue or a red lightsaber, you know who they are and what they are. Like in the video, you go, oh, that's obviously Darth bad guy, because you can just tell by looking at him, oh, he's and then the good. So that's actually one of the exciting things about working in the space, is that there's that ability to have an immediate impact.